It's now 1:02 in the afternoon, and I am calling today's meeting to order. I want to thank all of you for attending today. We are welcoming committee members in person and remotely via video conference. Also, to the general public, we want to thank you for joining us today. Please note this committee meeting is being videotaped. A link to the video and transcription will be posted on the Olympic Authority website following the meeting. Still don't have a quorum. Okay. We have to pause. We don't have a quorum. You don't count.
You can stop the live.
You don't. You're here. I'm going to start all over again. So excuse me, for those of you who've heard this already, we're going to start from the top. I'm calling today's meeting to order at 1:07 p.m. in the afternoon. I want to thank you all for attending today. We are welcoming committee members in person and remotely via video conference. Also, to the public viewing, thank you for joining us today. Please note this committee meeting is being videotaped. A link to the video and transcription will be posted on the Olympic Authority website following the meeting. As we start with today's items, I will remind the committee members to please speak as clearly as possible and to identify yourselves each time you speak or make a motion. An agenda is included in your committee packet. Renee, could we please have a roll call?
Cliff Donaldson.
Here.
Bill Beanie.
Here.
Eleanor Tatum.
You're muted.
You're on mute, but we read your lips.
Okay. Frank Cardinal. Joe Martens.
Here.
Joe Zalewski.
Here.
And for the record, Joe Zalewski is attending under extraordinary circumstances. We have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item for the committee action on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the audit committee's last meeting. May I have a motion approving the minutes of the audit committee meeting held on May 3rd, 2024?
So moved,
moved.
Joe Martens.
So moved by Joe. Second by Ellie. Thank you. Discussion, corrections, questions? Being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Dissenting? Being none, the motion is passed and the minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the independent auditor's presentation. Today we have representative from EFPR Group CPAs PLLC to present the report from the audit that they performed. I'd like to ask Peg to please introduce the representative of the company and take it from there with the report.
Very good. Yes, representing EFPR Group today is Doug Zimmerman.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. There is a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if they're going to pull it up on the screen.
You could even get the clicker.
Oh, okay. How do we pull it up? Oh.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Love technology. At least it's not me with a technical problem. There we go. Good to go then?
I think he's trying to get rid of the left-hand side. There you go.
There you go. Again, thank you very much. Again, I'm Doug Zimmerman, partner with the EFPR Group that was the partner on the engagement, and I'll be reviewing the results of the audit for the year ended March 31st of 2024. Today's agenda that I was going to cover is our engagement team, the timing of our procedures, the results, and then required communication, which is called a report to the board between the audit firm and the governing body. The team, as I mentioned, I was the engagement partner. David Gable is the audit director that was overseeing the audit. And then we also use a subcontractor in accordance with New York State's MWBE requirements. And so we had a staff accountant from the MWBE firm that we use that assisted on the audit as well. The timing of the procedures, we began the field work back on April 24th. We issued a draft of the financial statements on May 31st. I guess we have 2 days there, but it was at the end of May. And then obviously we're here today to present to the audit committee the results of that audit and the draft reports. We anticipate issuing what's called an unmodified or a clean opinion. There are no exceptions noted in preparation of the accounting records that deviate from generally accepted accounting principles. We did not identify any weaknesses in internal controls over the Olympic Authority's financial reporting. Additionally, there are no compliance findings. There are really two opinions reports that we issue within the body of the financial statements. There's the report in the front, which really covers the numbers and the financial statements. And then there's a report in the back of the report that is with regards to internal controls and compliance. And again, both of those are clean, unmodified reports. The books and records were maintained in a clear and orderly fashion. Everything that we requested was, immediately provided to us by Peg and her team. We had excellent cooperation. There were no issues. When we begin an audit, we have an audit plan that we prepare, and we're happy to report back that that audit was conducted in accordance with that plan. So there are no issues that we detected that caused us to have any deviations at all from that plan. Audit procedures were conducted both in person and remotely. What we try to do is get some of the housekeeping stuff out of the way before we come and bother the client on site. And again, everything went very smoothly. There are a couple of new accounting rules. 87, which has to do with leases, was applied last year. And then there was also a new accounting rule from GASB, as a Governmental Accounting Standards Board. They set the rules and regulations that governmental entities follow. And that one had to do with basically IT subscriptions. The authority evaluated their leases and subscriptions and determined that there was no material impact from these. So again, there was no issue with regards to any of the new pronouncements. Accounting estimates, every time accounting records are prepared, there are certain estimates that are utilized by management. An example would be estimated lives of depreciable assets. So we review those in connection with the audit, and they were all reasonable and appropriately supported. And as I mentioned, there were no disagreements. There were, with regards to performing our audits, no disagreements with management over any accounting, reporting, or auditing manner. One of the last things that we'll do is obtain a management's representation letter. Currently, the report is in draft form, so we have not yet dated it. It's not on our letterhead. Upon approval, what we do is, and there's a couple of last things that we have to do with management. We remove the draft stamp, and then we'll put it on our letterhead and date the report. And that management's representation letter will correspond to the date of our auditor's opinion. There are some supplementary information that is also in the financial statements, and these are required by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. There's a schedule that is in there with regards to OPEB, and OPEB is other post-employment benefits. It's really the health insurance for employees. So there's a schedule there with regards to how those numbers are calculated each year. There are two schedules related to your participation in the New York State pension system. You have what they refer to as a proportionate share of the liability. So every participating New York State entity that participates in the plan gets a proportion allocation based on their number of employees and their participation in a plan. And then you record that share as either an asset or liability, depending on the pension plan. Last year for 2023, it was actually an asset. The New York State plan was overfunded. And then for 2024, with the results of, the market and some other actuarial information, the plan became underfunded, which is typically, it's standing. And so as I go through some of the numbers, you will see there were some swings in the numbers. between assets and liabilities having to do with the pension plan. And again, that is something that you have really no control whatsoever over. They send you a bill, you pay it, they send you the information in the report, and you record that into your accounting records, but you are really not making any decisions whatsoever with regards to the pension system. There's also a schedule in the back with regards to the pension contributions that you make each year.
Do I recall that the asset last year was like $6 billion? Or are you going to get to that?
We're actually on that page right now, but yes, you are correct. The asset was $6.2 million last year, and just for reference, it became a liability of $17.9 million. So you had, a 23-something million dollar swing from one year to the next. So
That jumped out at me. That's why I remembered it.
That's a very good memory from last year. So your net position of the organization as of March 31st of 2024 was $444.1 million, and that was versus the $409.6 million at the end of March 2020. So that was an increase of $34.5 million. Capital assets, which is obviously the biggest number on your financial statements, amounted to, and again, this is net of accumulated depreciation that you record each year. The net amount is $478.3 million versus $443 million in the prior year. So that was an increase of $35.3 million. So what that really tells you is you had a lot of capital assets this year, because not only did it go up, but you also had to offset the depreciation that was recorded in the current year. So, typically, if you're not involved in a capital construction campaign, typically you'll see that number going down each year as depreciation expense is being recorded. Current assets, cash, receivables, prepaids was $54.9 million versus $52.5 million in the prior year. And right there's the pension numbers that we just spoke of. It's a liability of 7.9 in the current year versus the asset last year of $6.2 million. Total liabilities were 76.3 versus 65.4. And we give you the breakdown of what those are. As I mentioned previously, the OPEB, or the other post-employment benefits, that's the retiree health insurance. That's $39.9 million. As a comparison, that was $48.2 last year. So that's calculated by your actuary. And so obviously based on life expectancies, discount rates, things of that nature, the actuary prepares a report. And again, those numbers are utilized for the underlying accounting records. Again, the net pension liabilities in there for 17.9. Accounts payable and accrued expenses were $9.9 million at the end of this year. It was $6.9 million last year. Compensated absences, vacation accruals at the end of the year, $5.2 million versus $4.8 last year. And then advanced collections or monies received for the following year, 4.2 at the end of the year versus 5.5 at the end of last year. That was the liability side, and this is the income statement side. So the change in net position or net income for the year, $34.5 million versus $74.3 million. And those numbers are obviously a little deceptive because you're getting capital contributions from the state. What happens is they're reported as revenue. You use them for the construction activities, but they're not expensed, they're capitalized. So you get a $500 million grant, you got $500 million of revenue and zero for expense because you're capitalizing those assets to expense them over the years. And so, an organization like yourself that is capital intensive, capital construction intensive, the net income number is really not indicative of year-to-year operating results. That's where your operating, the next line there, operating loss was $47.4 million compared to 29.4. And again, outside of that is some appropriations from the state that is obviously helping to offset that. Non-operating income, $14.5 million versus 16.4 last year. And then the capital contributions that were provided for the construction, 67.4 in the current year versus 87.4 in the prior year. Operating income, the revenue was up 2.9 million to 65.1, but the expenses were up 20.9 million to 112.5. That's when you look at that line and compare it to that operating loss line, you can then see why the loss increased from 29.4 last year to the 47. Again, primarily driven by the increase on the expenditure side. The non-operating income, the New York State appropriations was consistent between the 2 years at 13.9 million. And the capital contributions, as mentioned above, were down $20 million to the $66.4 million. That's the numbers, and those numbers all come off of basically pages 15 and 16 of the financial statement draft. And I certainly, before I get into the notes, be happy to answer any questions anyone may have on any of the detailed numbers.
Any questions?
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it is. And again, it was a very smooth audit. I like nothing better than to reporting back that everything was as it should be. No problems, no issues. The next section that I just wanted to touch on for a second was note highlights. The financial statements are really, there's three components. There's what is called management's discussion and analysis, which is in the front, which is really management's opportunity to talk about everything that happened over the last couple of fiscal years and address changes from one year to the next. Then there's the detailed financial statement number pages, which is what we really covered at a high level. And then the remaining pages, in this case on the financial statements, it's pages 19 through 38. So there's some 19 pages of notes, notes 1 through 12, really expand on the various account balances and ideally are read in connection with the financial statements to get a clear understanding of the operating results. And a couple items just here. Note 1 describes the authority and the accounting policies that it follows. And again, it follows generally accepted government accounting rules as issued by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, no different than any other public authority or governmental entity. Note 2 details your investments in U.S. Treasury bills, and you are restricted as the type of investments that you're allowed to maintain. Note number 8, as I mentioned previously, you're part of the New York State employees pension system that's overseen by OSC and the controller. And again, they provide you all the information that you need to record the transactions and provide the detailed information within the notes to the financial statements. And then note 10 again is the other post-employment benefits or the retiree health insurance. As I mentioned, we also do the audit in accordance with what's called government auditing standards, and that's where we review the internal controls over financial reporting, as well as your compliance with laws, regulations, contract provisions. And as I mentioned previously, we're happy to report back that there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies reported in the internal control system, and there are no instances of non-compliance that would be material to the financial statements. So again, there are various litany of tests that we perform in connection with the audit, both on the internal control side and also on the compliance side. There is also another report in the very back of the financial statements that has to do with your compliance with New York State's guidelines for investment policies. And as I mentioned, you have investments in U.S. Treasuries. But one of our requirements is that we basically audit those investment guidelines and then also audit the investments that are held by the authority to make sure that they're in compliance with those guidelines and also in compliance with the New York State regulations. And again, that is also an unmodified clean opinion on your investment compliance report. And there are no issues noted with regards to anything related to the investments. And there was also no management letter. Everything that we looked at was as it should be. An audit is really, it's a team approach. We certainly come in at the end of the year and perform all the audit procedures that we have to conduct. But management has to be maintaining those records throughout the year to get to the point where we're able to come in. And certainly, they maintain those, in great shape throughout the year. You can't have a mess during the year and try to clean it up at the end. We're going to see that, and that's certainly not the case. Everything was in great shape, and it's really a testament to Peggy and her entire team keeping diligent on it, throughout the year to be able to allow me to be here very early on in the process. You're in March 31st year end. You have to file by the end of June. It's it's June, what is it? 11th today. You're one of my first March 31st audit committee meetings. So that really tells you how quickly the books are closed. We're able to come in and we're able to get this report into draft form. At the end of June, I'm a little bit more hectic and flying around at various meetings. So it's a pleasure to be able to be here this early to present the results. And with that, I'll open it up if there's any other questions anyone may have. You can just close that up.
Are there any questions? Comments?
Well, I will comment to say that as satisfied as you are with, delivering this kind of news and a clean audit letter, we are equally as gratified to receive your report in that kind of great condition. And I will speak for the entire committee and the entire board to say that we are very grateful to Peggy and her finance team for keeping such great books and allowing you to finish, early and get this one out of the way, so to speak.
We love it.
So more difficult ones you can hold till the end. So, thanks to Peggy. I went through the financials and they certainly seem, very straightforward. And again, that's a credit to all the, record keeping that's done throughout the course of the year. At every meeting, I always say how gratified that we actually have investment income coming in as opposed to, paying for loans and the like historically. So,
Absolutely.
Been a big progress point as far as I'm concerned. And this is it's a delight to receive such a nice report.
That it is. I'll second those comments.
Yeah, and I just want to echo that, Peggy, you are amazing. And thank you so much for all your hard work and for making sure that these audits go so smoothly.
Thank you, Ellie.
I also want to note that Frank Cardinal has joined the meeting. Welcome, Frank.
Yes, sorry I'm late.
That's all right.
Thanks for joining.
Being no questions or comments on the report, may I have a motion recommending that the Olympic Authority Board of Directors approve the independent auditor's report and proposed resolution number 539?
So moved.
So moved by Ellie,
Seconded.
seconded by Frank. Discussion? Being no discussion, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Being none, the resolution is adopted unanimously. Before I conclude the meeting, I just do want to point out to the committee, and Joe stole part of my thunder already, but this is Peggy Evett's last audit committee meeting. And she takes the great leap into retirement, which I can tell you is a great leap to do. And, but over the years that I've been here working with you, Peg, has been a delight. You're not only a great finance director, you're a good friend, and the authority is going to miss you tremendously. And the expertise that you have built up over the years will be missed.
Thank you.
This is an appropriate swan song, Peggy.
Yes, perfect swan song.
Right?
Couldn't ask for a better
One more board
report.
meeting.
Yeah, one more board meeting.
This concludes the scheduled items on today's audit committee meeting agenda. Are there any other items for discussion? there are no other items, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
So moved by Ellie,
Second?
second by Joe
Second.
Martens. Discussion? Being no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Committee stands adjourned at 1:32 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.